The underground command center buzzed with tension. Screens flickered, maps of Earth overlaid with Thalrex patrol routes illuminating the dim room. Major Ethan Cross stood at the center, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "This is it," he began, looking at the tired but determined faces of his team. "If we fail, humanity ends. If we succeed, we cripple the Thalrex and give Earth a fighting chance." Cross stepped to a holographic display showing the Thalrex command nexus. It loomed above Earth like a predator, surrounded by countless enemy warships. "The nexus is their brain," he explained. "It controls every drone, every warship. If we take it down, their forces will collapse into chaos." He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. "That's why we built Project Revenant." The room fell silent as the hologram shifted, revealing the Resistance's secret weapon, stealth warships with sleek, angular designs. These weren't ordinary ships, they were humanity's last hope, equipped with quantum cloaking devices that made them invisible to enemy sensors, alien weapons scavenged from destroyed Thalrex vessels, and an advanced AI named Aegis. "Aegis can predict their moves, giving us a fighting chance," Cross said. "But even with these ships, the mission is a long shot." Captain Sarah Voss, a battle-hardened soldier with a fiery spirit, stood up. "What's the plan, Major?" Cross turned back to the team. "We split into two groups. The assault team, led by me, will take the Revenant fleet and infiltrate Thalrex airspace. Our target is the Nexus core, we'll plant explosives and bring the whole thing down." He shifted the display to Earth's surface, highlighting a heavily fortified alien base. "The ground team, led by Captain Voss, will handle this, a Thalrex anti-air installation. It's armed with cannons that can tear through our cloaking devices if we get too close. You'll need to disable those defenses to clear a path for the fleet." Sarah nodded, determination etched on her face. "Consider it done." The team dispersed, each member preparing for what could be their final mission. The tension in the air was palpable. They all knew the odds were against them, but giving up wasn't an option. The calm before the storm. Hours later, the assault team was ready. Cross stood on the bridge of the Revenant, the flagship of their fleet. He ran a hand along the console, feeling the hum of the ship's cloaking field. "We've waited years for this," he said to his crew. "Let's make it count." Meanwhile, Sarah and the ground team moved through a network of underground tunnels toward their target. The weight of their task hung heavy, but Sarah kept her soldiers focused. "We've fought too hard to stop now," she told them. "Stick to the plan, and we'll come out of this alive." A deadly discovery. Just as both teams were about to launch their operations, disaster struck. An unexpected Thalrex patrol stumbled upon the Resistance base. Alarms blared, and the sound of explosions echoed through the mountain. Cross's voice crackled over the comms. "We've been compromised. All teams, prepare for a fight." The Thalrex drones poured into the base, their weapons firing with deadly precision. Cross grabbed a rifle, joining his crew in the battle. Sparks flew as alien projectiles tore through equipment. "Hold the line," he shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. On the ground, Sarah's team fought fiercely. "We need to secure the escape route," she yelled, taking down a drone with a well-aimed plasma shot. The battle was brutal, with humans falling left and right. Each death was a bitter reminder of what they were up against. The firefight lasted for what felt like hours. Finally, the Resistance managed to push the Thalrex back, but at a heavy cost. The base was heavily damaged, supplies were lost, and several key team members lay dead. A Pyrrhic victory. Breathing heavily, Cross regrouped with his remaining team. His face was grim as he surveyed the damage. "We've lost too much," one soldier muttered. "No," Cross replied, his voice firm. "We've lost friends. But we haven't lost hope. We still have a mission. We owe it to everyone who gave their lives to see this through." Sarah's voice crackled over the comms. Ground team is still operational. We're moving to the target now. Cross nodded. Good. The Revenant fleet is launching. It's time to show the Thalrex that humanity isn't finished yet. As the warships ascended into the dark sky and Sarah's team approached the enemy installation, the Resistance carried the weight of Earth's survival on their shoulders. Every step forward was a gamble, but they knew one thing: no matter the cost, they would fight back. The atmosphere was tense as the two teams began their operations. In the black void of space, the Revenant fleet silently advanced, cloaked and unseen, their experimental tech masking them from the hundreds of Thalrex warships patrolling the area. On the ground, Captain Sarah Voss and her team crept through the jagged ruins of an alien-occupied city, heading toward the massive anti-aircraft cannon that loomed like a steel predator in the distance. The assault team's battle. Inside the Revenant, Major Ethan Cross kept his eyes glued to the holographic display. Green blips marked their fleet's position, while red dots represented the Thalrex forces. Aegis, the fleet's AI, analyzed enemy patterns with calm precision. The enemy fleet is maintaining standard patrol formations, it said. Proceed with caution. Cloaking hold steady, Cross muttered, but the strain was visible on his face. He knew that one mistake would mean death for everyone aboard the fleet. The fleet weaved silently through the void, their ships gliding like shadows between the hulking enemy vessels. The tension was palpable. Then, without warning, a Thalrex scout ship broke off its patrol and veered toward them. Scout ship incoming. Aegis alerted, its voice suddenly sharp. Maintain cloak. Cross ordered, but the scout sensors began to detect faint energy signatures. It fired a pulse, disrupting the cloaking field. Alarms blared. We're exposed, one of the pilots yelled. Engage. Cross barked. The Revenant fleet erupted into action. Plasma cannons lit up the darkness, their blue energy bolts cutting through the Thalrex scout. The explosion illuminated the battlefield for a moment, but that was all the enemy fleet needed. Dozens of Thalrex warships turned toward the Revenant fleet, unleashing torrents of laser fire. The humans retaliated, using Aegis to predict enemy movements and execute pinpoint strikes. The scene was chaos. Warships darted between laser barrages, explosions rocked the void, and Earth's ships utilized their agility and salvaged alien weaponry to punch well above their weight. Evasive maneuvers. Cross shouted as the Revenant narrowly dodged a massive energy beam. The battle was relentless, but the fleet held its ground. Aegis, plot us a path to the command nexus. Cross demanded. Calculating, the AI replied. Keep them occupied for 120 more seconds. Cross gritted his teeth, knowing that every second was a fight for survival. The ground team's mission. Meanwhile, Sarah Voss led her team through the rubble-strewn streets below. The anti-aircraft cannon towered in the distance, its barrels slowly rotating like a predator scanning for prey. Around it, alien drones patrolled the area, their glowing red eyes cutting through the darkness. Keep it quiet, Sarah whispered to her team. The humans used makeshift weapons, plasma grenades cobbled together from alien tech, modified rifles, and EMP charges. Every step was calculated, every shadow a potential threat. They reached the outer perimeter of the Thalrex base, taking down guards with swift, silent strikes. But as they moved deeper, an alarm blared. A patrolling drone had spotted them. Move, now. Sarah yelled, raising her rifle. The base erupted into chaos as Thalrex drones and guards swarmed the area. Sarah's team fought fiercely, their movements a desperate blend of skill and determination. Plasma bolts lit up the corridors as the humans pushed forward, their every action underscored by the knowledge that failure was not an option. The sacrifice. The team reached the cannon's control room, but reinforcements poured in from all sides. Sarah quickly assessed the situation. We're outnumbered, one soldier gasped, reloading his rifle. Sarah's gaze hardened. Get the charges set, she ordered. What about you? Someone asked. I'll hold them off, she said, gripping her rifle tightly. Her team hesitated, but her tone brooked no argument. That's an order. Go. As the team planted the explosives, Sarah stood in the doorway, firing at the incoming drones and guards. Her shots were precise, her movements sharp. But the enemy numbers were overwhelming. One of the soldiers turned back. Captain. Go. Sarah screamed, her voice breaking with the strain. The door sealed shut as the team escaped. From behind it, they heard Sarah's defiant battle cries, followed by the sound of plasma explosions. Then, silence. The charges detonated seconds later, and the massive anti-aircraft cannon collapsed in a fiery inferno. Sarah's sacrifice had ensured the mission's success. Cross's resolve. On board the Revenant, Cross received the news. He clenched his fists, his jaw tight. Sarah had been his friend, his confidant, and one of the Resistance's finest leaders. She knew what was at stake, Aegis said, its tone neutral but somehow consoling. Cross stood, his voice steady but filled with fire. We won't let her sacrifice be in vain. All ships, focus fire on the Nexus. This ends now. The team's sacrifice fueled the assault team's resolve. As the fleet pressed toward the command Nexus, they carried with them not only their weapons but the unyielding spirit of humanity. The Revenant fleet emerged from the chaos of battle, battered but unbroken. Before them loomed the Thalrex command Nexus, a vast, menacing superstructure that hung in low orbit like a fortress of doom. Its surface bristled with weaponry, and energy beams crackled around it, making it seem alive. Despite the odds, the humans pressed on. Approaching the Nexus. Activate cloaking, Major Ethan Cross ordered, his voice steady despite the tension gripping the air. The Revenant fleet shimmered and disappeared from enemy sensors, gliding silently toward the Nexus. Thalrex warships filled the surrounding space, scanning frantically for the attackers they knew were coming. Stay tight, Cross said over the comms. We only get one shot at this. The fleet maneuvered through a maze of patrols, dodging massive beams of energy that lit up the void. The visuals were breathtaking, sleek, dark ships weaving through a storm of light and fire. Human pilots worked in perfect harmony, executing daring moves with the help of Aegis, the AI guiding their every step. But just as they neared the Nexus, a Thalrex destroyer detected a faint energy fluctuation from one of the cloaked ships. The alien ship fired blindly, and struck gold. Cloaking compromised. Aegis warned as the Revenant fleet was exposed. All ships, engage. Cross commanded. The sky erupted into chaos. The Revenant fleet dodged and fired, their advanced weaponry tearing into the Thalrex forces. Plasma bolts streaked across the battlefield as human pilots displayed unmatched skill, their smaller, faster ships outmaneuvering the hulking alien vessels. The boarding party. While the fleet kept the Thalrex forces occupied, Cross and a small boarding party launched toward the Nexus in a cloaked shuttle. Inside the shuttle, Cross checked his gear, his jaw set in grim determination. This is it, he told his team. We plant the charges, take out the core, and get out. No matter what happens, humanity wins today. The shuttle docked undetected, and the team infiltrated the Nexus. The interior was a labyrinth of sleek, alien technology glowing with an eerie blue light. Cross led the way, his rifle at the ready. Stay alert, he whispered. They know we're here. The team moved swiftly, planting charges on key structural points as they made their way to the reactor core, the heart of the Nexus. The showdown with Valus. As they reached the core, a deep, resonant voice echoed through the chamber. Emperor Valus stepped into view, his towering figure a blend of alien flesh and gleaming cybernetics. His eyes glowed with cold malice, and his voice dripped with disdain. You pathetic creatures, Valus sneered. You dare challenge the Thalrex? You're nothing but insects to be crushed. Cross stepped forward, his weapon raised. We're more than you think, he said, his voice unwavering. Valus lunged, faster than anyone expected. Cross barely dodged as the alien emperor's cybernetic arm slammed into the ground, leaving a crater. The two engaged in a brutal fight, the clash of metal and bone echoing through the chamber. Valus's strength was overwhelming, his cybernetic enhancements giving him an edge. He taunted Cross at every turn, landing devastating blows. You've already lost, he said, gripping Cross by the throat. Your people will die screaming. But Cross, battered and bleeding, refused to give up. Summoning his last reserves of strength, he reached for a plasma grenade clipped to his belt and activated it. Not today, Cross growled, shoving the grenade into Valus's cybernetic chest. The explosion sent the Emperor flying. Cross staggered to his feet, watching as Valus's lifeless body slumped to the ground. The final countdown. With the reactor core exposed, Cross and his team planted the final charges. The lights in the chamber flickered as the core's systems began to destabilize. Detonators armed, one of the soldiers reported. Time to go, Cross said, ushering his team back toward the shuttle. The humans barely escaped as the Nexus began to collapse. The charges detonated in a blinding burst of light, tearing the superstructure apart. The shockwave rippled through space, obliterating nearby Thalrex ships and leaving the alien fleet in chaos. The aftermath. On Earth, people watched as the Thalrex warships, now crippled without the Nexus's command, crashed into the atmosphere like falling stars. The once invincible fleet was broken. Aboard the Revenant, Cross stood on the bridge, his face a mix of exhaustion and triumph. It's over, a pilot said, disbelief in their voice. No, Cross replied, gazing out at the stars. It's just the beginning. We fought back, and now, we rebuild. The camera panned out, showing the ruined Nexus drifting lifelessly in space, a symbol of humanity's resilience.